Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Grand Cross video. Today we're going to be going over how to fight the Red Demon and what you should be doing during the Red Demon fight. So, at certain points in the game, you're obviously going to be able to start limit breaking your characters once you have them at UR rarity and you want to get them past level 60. So, to get them to level 65 and actually onward, because every limit break I think requires you to get Red Demon horns. So Red Demon is kind of the most important one to like keep grinding out here and there, so that way you can get the materials and everything to keep limit breaking your characters. So we're going to try to go over it today. I just farmed out some boss battles and everything and got lucky enough because once you're a lot further in the game, you have a chance to get the 3 different bosses, whereas if you're only far enough to fight Red Demon, then you're only going to get Red Demon fights whenever you do boss fight. But I have the chance to get Red Demon, Grey Demon, or Howlix at the moment, so it's pretty much just a 33% chance for me, I guess. I would assume it's just an even percent chance to get any of them. But yeah, I got a Red Demon ready to go. But first of all, we're going to go over what you need to be doing, or like, how to actually fight the boss. This is on the actual forum for Netmarble. They have a pretty decent little like strategy sort of guide on like what you should be doing and how you should fight him and everything. So obviously it's saying that you should fight him so that way you can get the limit break materials, which is precisely what we're doing, because you can get Red Demon horns. But the big thing with Red Demon is he has one sort of like gimmick to him, and that is his Hell Protect, which basically makes he moves into a stance where he takes reduced damage. He takes 30% less damage for 3 turns. So it's nothing too crazy, but you want to try to like kill him while he's not in it, obviously. Or you could even potentially just like kind of farm up your other cards and kind of, try to, keep him at bay and build up your attacks and stuff like that while he's in this stance potentially, and then unleash all your attacks whenever he's not in the stance, so that way you get the extra damage in. Other than that, the big strategy with Red Demon is that he is not immune to any CC. I don't actually know what CC is called, like what it stands for, but it basically just means that you can petrify, freeze, or stun him. And this is really important because a lot of the characters that you're going to see people use are like Blue King, because he can petrify as long as you get a level 2 attack skill with him. People will use Gustav because he, at any level, like even his level 1 freeze card, will actually freeze the Red Demon for a turn. You can see right here, this is when he gets froze. I'm not sure which Merlin it is. I think there's only 2 Merlins in the game at the moment. So I have Green Merlin and she doesn't have it. So Red Merlin, I think, has the freeze card as well. I don't think you have to level it up past level 1 to actually freeze as well. So she would be a good alternative if you don't have Gustav, but I don't know why you wouldn't. If you have the Merlin card, probably use it over Gustav, because he's just an SR. Obviously you can kind of buff him up if you want to, but I think Merlin is just a better choice. But if you don't, Gustav is actually in the gold coin shop, if I'm not mistaken, so you can just buy him out of there if you don't have him, or power him up, or do whatever you want to. Gustav, it should be an option. Like, you should have Gustav. Like, he's not hard to get. If you've been, pulling for any sort of characters at all, you're probably going to have a Gustav. So he's nice to have. Who else is it? There's those 2. I think one of the Meliodas is actually his ultimate will stun, but I wouldn't rely on that. I wouldn't think that would be a really great way to play that, because it's only his ultimate that actually stuns the enemy. So having to build up your ult gauge just to kind of like, stun the character for a turn isn't really worth doing. But the whole strategy is that it's you and another team of 3, so you actually get you and another person to help you fight the Red Demon together. And the idea is that you want to save your CC card, which is your freeze or petrify or stun, all the way until the very last card, and you can kind of use the emotes or whatever in the game, the little stickers, to kind of signify that you have one available. And then most of the time people will let you try to get the last card in, so that way you can kind of stun the enemy for the rest of the turn, because the idea is that you want to use that as your last card, so that way it stuns them, or etc., and that way he can't get any attacks in, and then it'll just swap back to your turn and you can kind of repeat it and do it all over again. So it also says that This Slater is actually pretty good because he can remove his Hell Protect stance. I don't normally see people use Slater. The only times that I have seen people use Slater is like with him really built up. He actually can deal a pretty good amount of damage. So I guess if you already have a built up Slater, I would recommend using him because he can actually deal good damage because he's got type advantage because the Red Demon is a red unit. So so he would be pretty good in that regard, but I don't normally see people use the blue Slater, so I wouldn't really worry about him too much. It recommends that you use Bond because Bond actually is a quote-unquote strong hero for the fight because of, I guess in the show, if you haven't seen the show, Bond actually fights a red demon, and I guess it considers that to be it says it's a story tie, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere down here. I forget where it says it. Oh yeah, Bond is a strong character against Red Demon and has reduced damage reduces damage received by 30% thanks to their story ties. So just because it happens in the actual story mode or whatever, he is the strong unit for this fight. So if you have a really strong Bond, he'll actually do more damage and receive less damage from the demon. So you can do that if you would like, but it's not really required. These are just kind of like recommended, I guess. I don't know why they use Red Elizabeth here. I don't think she has sort of any like really crazy significance because she's not gonna have type advantage or anything like that. But yeah, these are your two main supports. Obviously, you can swap this for Merlin if you want to, or you don't even have to use Blue King, but he does have type advantage, so he's kind of nice. Plus, his heal is pretty helpful if you don't end up if you don't end up stunning the character, the demon for the turn, and he gets an attack off or whatever. It's nice to be able to fall back on King to heal everybody in case you need it. I'm not sure why it recommends Kane per se. I guess I could look into that a little bit later, but I would say don't worry about that. There's other heroes that are pretty decent. If you have the Red Elizabeth without Hawk, just regular Red Elizabeth, she'll help heal your character just 10% after every turn. There's various subslots that you could use, but yeah, that's pretty much all this thing goes over really. So we're gonna switch over. So yeah, let's go over here. We'll kind of look at, we'll do just a hard. Obviously, there's 3 different difficulties that you can do. You can do normal, hard, or extreme. The thing is, so your combat class doesn't have to be 80k. Technically, you could do it with 40k because your teammate is going to have the other half of the CC that you want. So most of my teams are over 80k to begin with, so I don't really have to worry about this. But if you're like a lower level player and you're just now getting to be able to do boss fights and stuff like that, you probably want to try to bring, people who have pretty high CC, so that way you can try to, actually deal some really good damage and everything. You kind of work on some of the units that you need for the fight. The other big thing with the demon is that he has multiple hearts, and so in the first difficulty, if you're playing on normal, he has 2 hearts, so you have to kill him once, and then he'll come back, and then you have to kill him again. I think it's the same for the second demon as well, but then in extreme, he actually has a 3rd heart, so you can fight him again. And his it looks like his ultimate changes a little bit, and he has his cards kind of switch up a little bit. But this is nothing too crazy. You can kind of read over these for yourself if you need to. I don't think they're really that big of a deal. Some of them are like AoE attacks over regular like single target attacks, which is why they would be a little bit more deadly. So that's something to kind of watch out for. Actually, I think we'll just do a extreme, because most of the people that are around my level should have a decent enough team to kind of fight this as well. But so this is kind of where the stickers are going to come in handy. So if you have these right here, I actually don't have a card for Gother right here because I use Gother in this fight. But you can tell them, like, this would be like, hey, if you have a CC card or whatever, so you can petrify or stun or freeze to try to use it that turn. If then you can tell them if you don't have one for that turn, so they can try to pull something together. You can tell them that you have a petrify or you don't have a petrify. You can tell them to, you know, etc., etc. These stickers are actually kind of helpful. I think this is really the only game mode that I use them in. Every so often in PvP, I'll, you know, tell people like good game or, you know, hi or whatever with those, but nothing too crazy there. Other than that, so this is pretty much the team that I run for it, just because Gother is actually really helpful at this point because you can rank up your Blue King's cards. Like if you have, you can just sit on his rank up card, Invasion Arrow, and you can, if you have a level 1 of the attack skill from King, you can immediately bump that up to a level 2, so that way you can petrify at the end of the turn if you need to. Other than that, you can just, like I said, you can bring in Gustav if you really want to for the freeze, and then I don't have it, but there's another Merlin that you can use. I have the green Merlin, who is not the one you want to use because she doesn't have the freeze. She just has the protect skill. She wouldn't be terrible if you really want to like fall back on trying to like defend your characters and putting that little prism up. But yeah, it's nothing too crazy. I actually use Escanor mostly for damage, and that's mainly just because he hits really, really hard. I actually am going to switch this to Jericho as well because she's really nice. If one of my characters does end up dying, I can kind of start trying to crit with Jericho. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit longer for her to build up, so I don't know if I would recommend putting her in your 4th slot, but this is pretty much the team I'm going to be running. So all you have to do once you get into one, or if somebody invites you to one, is you just hit preparation complete. But we're going to invite people, so it'll send an invite to all of these random people. Sometimes it's people that are in your guild or knighthood or whatever, and then, you know, you just party up with them, and then you kind of get into it. So okay, so you can see here our CC is way higher than his. Even this is extreme and he's at 160. So as long as you have 2 like actually stacked teams, like, you're going to be completely fine against this boss. Which he's supposed to be the weaker of the 3. He's kind of the one that you want to farm the most because you're going to need red demon horns to limit break every single time. So the fight's pretty straightforward. Let's see, I don't know if he has a CC or not, but we're going to tell him that we can do this if we want. So we'll just go ahead and hit that. We'll do an attack card with Escanor, and then we'll try to wait for him to fill up his 3 cards, and then we'll hit the petrify on him. So he's doing his thing, and then bang. Hopefully he's got some decent damage dealers. I don't ever really see people use this Deanne, but I don't know. I've been surprised before with other people's builds. So he's saying this is, I don't actually have that sticker and I need to get it because it's really helpful, but he's saying that he has a level 2 Gother card, which is really nice because that's going to increase all of the cards in your hand up by 1 stage. So you can see we petrified him at the end of the stage. It's going to try to go to his turn. He can't attack because obviously he's petrified, so boom bam, and then it swaps back to our turn. It takes a second, though, for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, boom. Okay, so he's now non-petrified, but it's our turn again. So he's going to hit the invasion arrow. Sometimes it's really laggy in this, and I don't know why, but it's not that bad, so it's whatever. So invasion arrow, and then now we can start kind of throwing out our stuff. I unfortunately don't have any CC, but that's fine. I don't. Okay, so he's actually running the red Merlin. So he has the. You can see he has the freeze card. So he's gonna hit that. It's gonna increase all of our cards and everything up 1 stage. We're gonna hit. Escanor does really good damage, so he's nice to have. And then yeah, it's pretty much just gonna rinse and repeat over and over again. Everybody's gonna try to attack as much as possible, and then at the end of the turn, we're gonna try to hit some sort of, you know, stun or immobilize skill, so that way he can't attack. But yeah, I'm going to try to either fast forward through some of this fight or just kind of skip to the end, because obviously it's going to be just the same kind of stuff over and over again, and our connections don't seem very great, so it's going to be kind of like laggy through this. So if there's any sort of things that I need to say, I'll come back with those. Okay, so that's first phase down. You're going to see he actually goes down and everything, and then his heart up here is going to tick down to 2, I think. Or maybe it plays the animation first. So you can see he gets back up, and he's absolutely pissed. So now he's got 2 hearts left, so you basically just rinse and repeat. We're going to do the same thing. Okay, second phase is down. This guy's Deanna is actually doing really good. As long as he has like a 2 or 3 star of her little like golem attack, it's actually doing really good stuff, and I think it's disabling attacks and stuff like that as well. So it's kind of doing super well. But yeah. So the big thing for me is that if there's a lot of like petrify cards, like if you're actually being able to stun him a lot, you're going to end up getting a lot of these extra sort of healing cards and stuff like that, that unfortunately you can't really, like, you don't want them to just stack up into your inventory, because they're just going to like block other cards that you might need from coming down the line. So you want to just get rid of those every so often, so that way it's not, you know, completely like ruining your hand. I'm wondering why he froze and then used ult. But I don't know. I've actually never seen this before. Dang, that did a lot of damage though. I guess that was what he was trying to do, was trying to just go for the kill. So he's going to get an attack off right here. I think this is the first time he's actually been able to attack the entire game. Maybe he doesn't get to attack. No, he does. Okay. I thought he did. So fortunately, our whole team is pretty stacked, so I don't think anybody's going to die from any of this, and we'll just be able to kill him. Obviously, if you have something to deplete ult gauge, it's kind of nice, but most of the time, if you and your teammate know what you're doing, you're not going to have to worry about him getting his ult really too much. And even if he doesn't really do like a crazy amount of damage, like maybe if your team isn't like super built up, I can understand. But yeah, just try to make sure that you're farming out and like getting the characters that are actually good for this sort of fight in a decent position, because obviously not only if your team isn't built for this and you go in, not only are you hindering yourself if you lose, but you're wasting the time of somebody else, and I mean that's no fun. It's definitely not fun like getting a teammate who doesn't know what they're doing or anything like that, and then just ended up being a huge waste of time because they didn't help out enough, and then you end up getting wiped or whatever. So I don't know, just try to make sure if this wasn't enough information, you try to do a little bit more research and try to figure out what you need to do, or just take the time to like actually grind out your characters and, you know, push yourself so that way you can actually, you know, be a viable teammate. If you're actually the host of the fight, you'll see that whatever town he was in, whenever you got invaded by the boss, he's gonna, if you beat the boss, he's going to give you a 20% discount for all of the items in the shops in that town, so you can use that to your advantage if you really want to. It's actually a nice way to make sure that you can buy some of the more expensive stuff for a lot cheaper, is if you go ahead and do a boss fight in that town and beat the boss fight, that'll give you 20% discount, and then you can actually donate, I think it's 30,000 gold to the town itself using village donations, and it'll give you another 20% off, so that's a total of 40% if you're trying to buy anything from the town. If you're the host, you actually get an extra little like bonus chest. It gave me some demon's blood, which is kind of nice. It's just always nice to get those extra rewards. And then I think as you progress up through the difficulties at extreme, it gives you some extra rewards and you get more demon horns out of it, whereas in the lower difficulties, I notice more often than not it'll give me just 1 demon horn in each stack instead of 2. So I think it's all just down to like the actual pull rates of the materials there. But yeah, so after you beat it, Mama will actually come down and wreck him and get him out of the way. and you're good to go. So yeah, hopefully this was informative and helpful for you guys if you're newer to the game and you're trying to get out the materials and everything that you need to limit break your characters, because I know limit breaking is kind of important. You want to make sure that your characters are as high up as they can be, so you definitely need to farm out these red demon horns, because you can see that even me, I think, so if you go and look at a level 60 character, so if I go to Deanne, this would be her first limit break, so you would need 20 horns. And then if I go to somebody who is 65, like Meliodas, you can see you only need 10, but you got to start getting gray demon materials at that point, but you still end up needing these red demon horns. And then obviously you've seen with Gother that he's at level 70, and if I want to get him to level 75, I'll need the Howlix materials, so the Beast Howlix ears, but I also still need demon horns. So at this one you actually need 20 as well, but this is pretty much level cap for the moment on global. I think at some point we'll be able to get to level 80, but I have no idea when that will be. So yeah, pretty simple. Red Demon is definitely the easiest of all of them, but you just got to make sure that you're bringing in a pretty decent team and you're kind of coordinating with your partner or teammate, so that way you can kind of petrify or stun or whatever at the end of each turn, so that way you're not taking a whole bunch of damage and getting wiped. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a lot more Grand Cross content in the future. Really been enjoying the game, and yeah, hopefully this helped. So I'll see you guys in the next one.